Hey everyone, it's me again. I wanted to thank you all for your support, all the encouragement I've received over the last 24 hours. Thank you all. I feel loved. Know that you're all loved too. And goodness, a few of you tried to contact me and I wasn't able to keep up with all the phone calls, all the text messages. So if I didn't answer, I didn't avoid intentionally a single phone call today. So if you happen to call while I was taking a nap or doing something else, then forgive me. I'll get back with you. Just be patient. And again, I just appreciate you all so much. I wanted to share the story about how all this happened. I'm trying to be quick. How I got to this point where I know I've got this kind of cancer. And it's the story short. It's just a couple months up until Christmas time or so. Around January, I felt fine. Went to a training exercise, camping out down in Louisiana. We call it JRTC. It's just a place where the Army goes down and trains for war with light infantry units. 30 days down there camping. The weather was pretty bad. It was really, really cold, way colder than you expect in Louisiana any time of the year. And it was physically stressful. Everybody's tired. After 30 days, we came back. 12-hour bus ride home, about 48 people on a 50-person passenger bus. And you can imagine that's kind of exhausting. But we made it. I was tired. They give us 4 days off after we get back, and it just wasn't recovering. A couple weeks going by, I'm not feeling like I'm able to function at 90%. Feeling a little bit of discomfort in my abdomen. I've got a hernia, an umbilical hernia from my time in Romania in 2022 and 23, 9-month deployment over there in Europe. And they said if it ever hurt, I'd come back and talk to them. So I went back and asked them to look at it. And they said they'd put me in for a surgical consult. In the meantime, I had my physical health exam and my blood pressure was through the roof. Don't have a history of hypertension, but like 155, 160 over 110s and 120s. And that was a major concern. They got me on a blood pressure medication pretty fast. I've never had anything like that before. Don't really take any significant medications. And that kind of started to help. But I was just still feeling tired and uncomfortable. They did a bunch of blood work. Everything came back looking good, really did. I'd had some blood work done back in October as well. And there was no significant standouts, nothing to suggest anything was wrong. My liver was still functioning. All my liver numbers were still good. And they still are. So even with all the stuff eating up my liver's still functioning. But the surgical consult that was put in, I went in for, it's about 3 weeks ago. It was on a Tuesday, about 3 Tuesdays ago. And they looked at it to see what kind of hernia it was, what was poking through my belly button. And they saw this big mass on my liver. They thought they saw some blood clots, but it ended up being the liver mass pushing forward on my inferior vena cava. They were really worried that a blood clot could kill me, where that goes straight to the heart, straight to the lungs. So they rushed me down to Vanderbilt, based on the fear of what could happen with these blood clots. And they told me they saw a mass on my liver. Went to the ER here at Fort Campbell. One of the ER doctors kind of came in and really looked shook up with tears in his eyes, or just glassy eyes, and told me that he saw my CT scan and just dropped it on me. He said, "This is highly aggressive liver cancer and there's no treatment." I'm sorry. Like, oh, okay. All right, bro. Thanks. My buddy, Chaplain, my immediate supervisor, was sitting in the room. He came over to see me in the hospital, and he was sitting there, and he was kind of just shocked. You can't believe what the guy just did. Eliza had stepped out of the room. A couple minutes later, Eliza came back in the room, sat down, and that doc came back by and looked at me and looked at her and said, "Have you told her yet?" I'm like, "No." Like, I hadn't. It was an awkward situation. He asked me if I wanted him to tell her. I didn't want to break the news. I wanted time to think about it, but he was pretty excited to bear some bad news. I don't want to act like he was. He felt like he was really doing the right thing, and it wasn't necessarily what we needed to hear the way we needed to hear it right there. Especially when we were going to one of the best liver and cancer places in the entire world down there at Vanderbilt. So we went down to Vanderbilt, and they told me I didn't have any blood clots, put me on heparin for a little while, blood thinner, and said it was just this liver mass pushing on that vein, coming back up to my heart and lungs. And they did a couple CT scans. That's how they determined there wasn't anything anywhere else in my body, just in the liver. And they did a biopsy, and that's where they could tell that it was cancerous in my liver, and that it was from the bile ducts. So I got that. I didn't hear anything back. I stayed 3 days in the hospital, got the biopsy on a Thursday, and then just had all my test results. They come through these online portals, and I get messages. So the following Wednesday, I get a message, hey, you have a new test result. I go in there and I see a positive cancer test result that actually said it was coming from the bile duct in the pancreas, which is scary because that's a different thing. But it wasn't. I'll cut to the end of that story. It's all in my liver. It's all in the bile duct in the liver. I was able to bump up my follow-on appointment with the oncologist a few days, and on April 3rd, went down and met with him, where he kind of explained to me that there just wasn't a curative option at this point. There's a lot to be positive about. He explained to me, even worst case scenario with the health that I'm in, I probably have up to a couple years. But that wasn't an actual prognosis. It was just worst case scenario, because I want to know. I asked him what's worst case scenario, best case scenario, and he explained to me kind of those percentages. About a third of the time this responds to chemotherapy, and it'll shrink the tumors. About a third of the time it just helps sustain it. And under that case, we try to find another way to manage it. And then about a third of the time, that doesn't really have much impact on the cancer cells. So we've got to find another way to do it. They did some genetic testing, and they're looking for other options, treatment. If certain genetic factors come into play or certain mutations are there, then there's other options for treatment. And they got me in a drug trial. So it's everything I would normally get for this, but there's an additional drug added in the trial. Whether or not I'm in the placebo group or the actual study group, I won't know, I guess, until it's all over, until I'm all healed up and that result comes out. So keep praying for us. That's the story. Scary. Again, we found out just that that appointment was on April 3rd, so it was just a few days ago. It's Saturday. This was Wednesday that we got this news. So it took a couple days to process it, tried to get it out to everybody. And yeah, just keep praying. That's the story. It's a lot to take on, but after a couple days, it's settled in, and just knowing again that God is in complete control, and I belong to Him completely. So, though He slay me, if you know your scripture, you know what I'm talking about. Though He slay me, I'll still praise His name. I'm not in the business of questioning God and His plan. His ways are higher than my ways, and His thoughts are higher than my thoughts. So trust Him. Love you guys. Love the Lord, and make Him priority in your life. There's a lot of suffering out there, but we don't have to go through it alone, and we don't have to suffer as those who have no hope. All right. God bless y'all.